Hello, 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 and welcome. My name is Sabrina Victoria. This is Her Talk Show, and I am here with Tara. We're going to be talking to first time authors and how to avoid the top three mistakes. Tara is here to dive in, show some insights, some inspiration on how to fuel your professional growth around writing your book. Let's jump in. All right. If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We're here delving deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed close to 700 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Tara Hayes here. She is the founder of Tarafied Publishing, where she helps first-time authors publish their books. She supports writers from idea to publication with a focus on encouragement, clarity, and getting it done without fear. Tara is passionate about helping business owners share their stories and believes that writing a book can be life-changing. Welcome, Tara.
Thank you, Sabrina. Hi, everybody.
Yes, girl. Thank you so much for being here. So, first of all, writing books. I feel like this is something that everybody wants to do, but like nobody does. I do believe there are more people now more than ever. And there's some real interesting books on the market right now that are self-published. Why book publishing? What got you into this?
That's a great question, Sabrina. I'm happy to share it. So, what got me into book publishing is I was at a low point in my life about 6 years ago, and I was just laid off from 2 full-time accounting jobs, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with myself. I had a lot of anxiety, need to know my next turn, and both of these jobs, unrelated to each other, they said, "We like you, but we don't think this role is a fit for you." So, in my quest, I came across a ad on YouTube for self-publishing, and at first I was like, should I do this? I really didn't know if I should do it or not, and I told my sister about it. She said, why don't you just go for it? So I went for it, and I took the course, and I self-published my first book. And during that time, I found what I was supposed to be doing, because I shared my story with anxiety. But at first the course had said that I should publish fiction or fantasy, but I said I have to write about what was relevant to me. So, and I figured that was right before COVID, and we were all getting ready to go through a lot of anxiety anyway. So that was the perfect time for me to share my story as an author. So that's how I got into book publishing, writing my first book with that self-publishing course and then publishing it on Amazon. That's exactly how I got into it.
I love that. And what was the book about?
So it was about my experience with anxiety from childhood to adolescence to adulthood. I really didn't know at the time where I was going through anxiety that that's what it was, because I can recall experiencing my first anxiety attack around 9 years old, and I had no idea what it was. So the story is sharing my journey and how I was on prescription medication for 15 years. My father was a pharmacist, and I had a therapist and a psychiatrist. They all said, don't ever get off of your medication. But I had another journey for myself. I had another plan for myself. I said, I'm going to get off of this medication. So I discovered 15 natural ways to deal with my anxiety. And that's what the book is about. It's called Panic to Picnic, how to find your own personal path to peace of mind. And that's what the journey is for me.
Wow. Have you found that there was a lot of people that were interested in reading the book?
I did find that. And also, when I wrote the book, I found that I was writing my story, but as I was writing, one of the mistakes I made is I didn't keep my audience in mind. I was like, I just wanted to write my story originally. So when I wrote the book, I was attracting people who had anxiety, but they weren't necessarily interested in the transformation. And if I would have wrote with others in mind at first, then I would have kept in mind anxiety action takers, people who have the transformation in mind. So there were people who were interested, but there were people who had anxiety and didn't know how to overcome. So, and that's when how I wanted to get more eyes on the book is I decided to do some anxiety coaching. And when I did some of the anxiety coaching, some of the women that I was working with, I was able to help a handful of women, but then some of the women that I wanted to help, they were stuck. And then my therapist told me I wasn't qualified to help anyone with anxiety. So I stopped seeing that therapist. And I said, maybe I can't help her in the way that she's helping, but I can help people that navigate the anxieties come along with publishing a book. And that's when I made my pivot. So.
Wow, that is so much. So I'm also interested because I know that one of the reasons why people write books is to help with their industry, whatever they're in. So in your case, coaching, right? That allowed you to be able to look, um, be an authority in the space of anxiety, which then allowed you to be able to open coaching. Is this one of the things that you talk with your individuals about as far as books helping with coaching?
So what I do talk about it, yes, it does help with coaching. For example, I have worked with a few coaches. I actually worked with a coach on a book about boundaries. So that was the book that she wanted to put out, and we just finished that book. It'll be launching soon. So when I do work with the clients that I work with, I do basically want them to realize that their book is their business card. Their book is the entry point for people to get to know you. And I believe that most business owners, all business owners, should have a book because just from my personal experience, if I've seen a coach online, I would probably look for a lead magnet or look for a book before I even think about becoming one of their clients. So that's just the way I think. And I think that's why most business owners need that book just as an entry point for people to get to know them and know, like, and trust them from the book. So yes, definitely. And they can coach from their book. So that's from the tools that they teach in the book.
Yeah, I like that. Your book is your business card. I think that's true. And I think just in general, they can find you through your book, or once they find you and then seeing that you have a book really raises their authority in that space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because as many people that talk about writing a book, people aren't writing. They don't take
Mm-hmm.
the time to write. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of patience
Mm-hmm.
to actually get that done. So, for those listening live, which we have a ton of people watching live, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us. I want to talk a little bit about what are the three mistakes? What are the three top things that you're seeing in your industry that first authors are making that are easily avoidable? What's the first one?
So I would say that a lot of authors make the mistake of not getting their book professionally edited. And I know that's a mistake because that's what I did. When I did my first book, I said, oh, I'm just going to edit it myself. And at the time, I didn't have the resources to get an editor, or it wasn't even a thought for me to get the book professionally edited. So I believe that a lot of authors think that they're saving money that way, but then a lot of self-published books get a bad name because they're not professionally edited. So
Yes.
that's one of the mistakes definitely that first time authors make. And then there's a mistake of skipping professional formatting. And I didn't skip this step because I had no idea how to format my book. So I hired someone in Fiverr and she formatted my book for me. So, but with her doing that, a lot of authors skip the interior design step. That's something that I skipped too. So you know how books look professional where they have like maybe like a drop cap, or they have like the pretty design on the book, like the titles, and then they have maybe the running title at the top of the book. So a lot of self-published books miss that. And that's what really helps the book look professional. I know when I did my book, I missed that. And I was like, oh, that's what interior design is. So then I had to go back and I got mine redone because I wanted it to look better. So a lot of authors skip that. And I would say don't skip that, because self-published books get judged. A lot of people think that just because it's self-published, they mean it's not credible, but that's just not true. If you do it right, then your self-published book is credible. And then I would say a third mistake that first-time authors make is they neglect their marketing strategy. And then that's something that I did. I just thought that publish on Amazon and readers will come. And I know that's not the truth. And it's just like how we have an H Club. There's the mall, there's the corporate, there's a mall, and then there's stores in the mall. So if you're not bringing anybody in your stores, or if you're not bringing anybody in your book, nobody's going to know it's there. So don't neglect your marketing strategy.
Beautiful. So as far as not getting professionally edited, I'd love to talk a little bit about the cost of this, because I feel like so often individuals get into writing a book, they write the whole book, and then they get to the editing process and they're sticker shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have just an open conversation around what is a decent price, where it's not, some pricing is insane, but then
Mm-hmm.
some is way less, but then you don't know what you're getting. So in
Right.
today's time, what would you say is a decent cost to get your book edited? Where should people be looking? What's the range?
That's a great question. So there's many different stages of editing. There's developmental, there's copy editing, there's line editing, and I'll tell you that copy editing, developmental is the most expensive, because when when we're looking at the book, we might have to get the author to rewrite certain sections, or take that section out, or so and then depending if it's character development, then you might have to develop the character more. So, and it also depends on how long the manuscript is, how many words there are. If it's 100,000 word manuscript, then that's going to be more. So and with the edit, I would say proofreading is about 2 cents a word for proofreading. And editing, I'll have to look it up, but I would say editing is expensive, but I try to keep it reasonable, depending on the length of manuscript. So if it's a really long manuscript, I would say starting at 1,000 would be the editing rate starting. So, but if it's developmental, you have to really help the author develop their story, redo the story, then it's going to be more. So I say definitely starting at 1,000.
Should everyone, so you mentioned developmental
Mm-hmm. Developmental.
proofreading,
There's line editing.
line editing.
Mm-hmm. And then so copy editing could summarize line editing and proofreading. So I would say developmental and copy editing.
Okay, so there's at least two. Should everybody get two? Like how many? I was told that you're supposed to get your book edited 3 times, but I wasn't even told that there's different types of editing. I was just told get it edited 3 times. So should developmental and copy editing be 2 out of the 3 every time, or no?
I would say it should be, but some authors choose not to because they don't want their story touched. And then I just respect that. If an author doesn't want developmental, now say, okay, I'll do a copy edit, I'll do a proofread for you. So, but if we get a manuscript and it really, really needs work, then I recommend developmental. But if I see a manuscript that has a story that's really intact and it doesn't need as much, then I'll recommend a copy edit. But I would say, I would say not to skip editing, get editing from a professional editor. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I have read books that were not edited.
Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to go back to your question. Should you get it edited 3 times? So what you should do is you should send it to the editor, and then the editor will come back with edits or what you need to redo. And then the author comes back one time again, and then we look at it again. And then you may not need 3 edits if we can get it from the second time that you've got it revised.
Got it. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know who told me that, but somebody was like, get it edited twice by the same editor. Like, take it or give it, edit, fix, give it back. They'll edit it again, fix, and then the third one, send it to another editor because they catch things that the other one didn't catch, just
Right.
in general, because we're all human.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's so interesting. So there's different types of editing. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then we say professionally formatted. First of all, what does that mean, professionally formatted? Like you open up a book, there's just words on the page. What does
Right.
for how does that even matter? Why does that matter? I know you mentioned the titles.
Yeah, I wish I had my book. Darn. All right. I have someone else's book right here. Oh wait, I do have my book here. So so when I say professionally formatted, so like you need a table of contents. So I don't know if you can see that. So you need
Yep.
a table of
We
contents.
can see it.
And then you need oh, my book doesn't have what I was going to describe. I think I have another book here. So this is a book that I did for a client, From Scratch to Shelf. It's a vegan book. So in her book, you see how she has like the nice font there.
Yes.
So that's a part of the formatting. And then so this is her table content.
Nice.
And then she has a running title across the book. So you see how she has introduction here? Like
Yeah.
you can't do that on your own. Like you have to have like a InDesign, or you have to have Vellum, or you have to have some type of interior design software. You have to have Atticus something. So you can't do that. Like when I was doing books at first, like you see, she has the we have the author name, and
Yeah.
we have the author title on the top.
Okay.
I mean the type of the book. So that's what I mean by formatting. And
So
then
there's a special program that can actually get that at the top of your pages.
right. And then if it's not formatted properly, then Amazon won't take it, or whatever platform you decide, they won't take it, and then it'll be rejected. And then the it matters within the margins. So that's why it's so important to have it professionally formatted. And honestly, I made that mistake with my first book. I used a Google Doc, or I used Google Sheets. That's all I knew, because I wasn't talking to other publishers, so I didn't know what to do. So I just did what was economical for myself. But as I grew in the industry and started talking to more publishers, I found out about InDesign. I found out about Atticus. I found out about Vellum. And these are the tools that you need to make the book look professional and nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't even think of a book that I've read that doesn't have that in there. So definitely would be weird to have it not in there. Um, okay, very cool. So that's the interior design of the book. Now, you said you found somebody on a platform that did that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is that what we're recommending? We're recommending people to maybe go on a Fiverr.com and find somebody that can do the interior design of the book for you?
So if you can't afford a professional formatter, I would recommend Fiverr, but my company does do interior design. So yeah, so if you needed help, if anyone were decide to work with me, then that's something that I can do, help with interior design. But if you can't afford, because interior design can be expensive, but if you can't afford and you're just starting out, then you can go to Fiverr, Upwork for that.
Does your company also provide the editing?
Yes, we provide the editing
How
as
many
well.
times does your company do the editing with the price structure?
So with the price structure, right now, we do the editing. The author sends the manuscript. We do the editing, send it back to the author, And then if they have some more revisions, then we can do it another time for them. So we can do it. And then I do have another editor besides myself, because like you said, there's mistakes there might be mistakes that I won't see, and then my editor would be able to catch it. So
Beautiful. Love that. And then the third one, neglecting their marketing strategy. So first of all, what is a marketing strategy for a book?
So it's so many ways to market your book. You can do social media, like posting on social media. And another thing a lot of authors do is they post it once and they think that people are going to see it. And I've made that mistake. I made my post on Facebook one time when I first became an author. I was like, hey guys, I'm an author. And it was a big thing for me because I'm an introvert. And it took me 3 months to share, because I was afraid of how I would be received as an author. But it was everything in my mind. No one else really cared or judged me that way. So yeah, you can do social media posts and post often that you're an author. I also recommend, there's something that we do is called a bestseller boost campaign. And that's when you are on Amazon, and with that, your book has to be restricted to Amazon for 3 months. So you'll enter your book into something called KDP Select, and then during that time, we give you a boost. So we do a campaign for about 4 days, and for this campaign, you have to have the ebook version of the book. So it's only for the digital version. So we do the campaign, and it's actually training the Amazon algorithm to like your book. So there's lists that we have and people download the book from the list, and then it's like getting you in the bullseye. So that's one way to market it, that Amazon bestseller boost. And I've done that campaign for a handful of authors. The first author I did it for, it was a poetry book, and we got our #1 Amazon bestseller in 6 categories. Even though that's not the goal to hit bestseller, but it's the goal is just to get the visibility on the platform on Amazon. So we achieved that for her. She got 1450 plus downloads. And then I've done the same for another author. Hers is a book about boundaries. So it's personal development, how to say no. And we recently just finished up that campaign for her, and she got #1 in 10 categories. One of them was personal growth, and can't remember all of them right now. So, but and she got 2,500 plus downloads. So that's one way to market. And then another thing I'm getting into is a lot of authors don't think that you need a landing page for your book, but you do. So because when your book is on Amazon, you can't control that traffic, unfortunately. But if you have your book on your website or a landing page, then people can come and purchase your book from your website, and then they won't have to pay the royalty on Amazon. You'll keep you'll keep all of what your book price will be. So that's an advantage of having a website also as well. And then another thing that I'm getting into is a press release I want to do for my other authors. So I'll be partnering with someone to do a press release as far as getting the book up on at least 500 media outlets. So people will be able to get the book. So that's a way to. And also you can do a book signing. You can go to your local library, set up a book signing. You can do email campaigns. I recommend a newsletter so that when people get your book, you can keep in touch with them. So say you have, because your book is an entry point to a bigger offer. So create a newsletter. So once people get your book, you build that relationship with them. And then when you're ready to launch your course or a webinar, then you'll have that information. You'll have their information. And then those are most of the strategies that I could think of right now for marketing the book. But the important thing is to keep consistent with it, because as a first-time author, I made the mistake of posting one time and thinking that people would just continue to buy my book, but it didn't happen. So I learned a lot on the journey, and then I just don't want my authors to make the same mistakes that I've done.
Exactly. I love how you said that. I love how you said post on social and post on social often. Because that is one of the biggest things. I think we have to remember that the algorithm on these social media outlets is free, and they're not working in our favor. They're working in their favor. That's why they're free. So if your post within the first, I think it sends it out to like 50 to 100 people. And if 50 to 100 people don't interact, like it, comment, stare at it for more than 5 seconds, then it just assumes that the post is not interesting. And so then they don't show it to any more people ever. So if your post is only hit, if it's a stagnant, just a stagnant post, people see it, they acknowledge it, right? But only 50 to 100 people saw it. So you have to continue posting that stagnant post so that it'll continue to hit 50 to 100 people here and there, here and there. And then to Tara's point, getting out there on social and doing all these things, a landing page, a press release, a book signing, get on video.
Mm-hmm.
Get on video, talk about your book, talk about how exciting your book is, talk about the things that you're teaching in your book. One of the things Tara's doing here is podcasting, right? Get on a podcast, share your knowledge, give value, and then the back end, let people know, hey, listen, you can buy my book on exactly this issue, this thing that we're talking about, this topic that we're talking about. And then the book should be connected to a bigger offer. I love that. What are some examples of some bigger offers that can be connected to a book?
So that's a great question. So one of the bigger offers that could be connected to a book is maybe just like a webinar telling people about your book, like telling the story of the book. And also it could be an entry level to a coaching program that you have. Like, for example, when I was doing anxiety coaching, I would have, my book is about anxiety, so I would have them read the book first. That's exactly how I got my first client. She followed me on Instagram, and a friend posted my book, and then she read the book, and I said, hey, well, do you want help basically with your anxiety? And then that was the bigger offer was working with her one-on-one and coaching sessions. So that was an entry level point. Also, it could be to use to get on stages. When I go to an event or a local networking event, and I'm speaking, then I bring my books with me. Or I recently did a networking event where they did like an author's edition. So it was me and 4 other authors, and we all talked about our journeys of being an author, how we became an author. And then people bought my book just from me being up on the stage that we were on. So I would say it could be, so the bigger offers are your coaching programs, getting on stage, in the webinar to bring people to talk about your journey, and then have them purchase. It could be a course too. So you can do a course teaching the foundations that are in your book. So I would say that those are the bigger offers.
Beautiful. And then as far as marketing strategies, is that something that you help your clients with, developing some sort of a market strategy to sell?
Yes, I do help my clients with that. And I'm going to be transparent that I do have a marketing team that helps me. So it's not just me doing it. So if there's something that I don't know, then I would get my resources to help me with that. So my strongest point as a publisher is the distribution. And when I say distribution, that's getting them up on their desired platforms, whether it be Amazon, whether it be Ingram Spark, whether it be Draft to Digital. And I'm strong at project management too. So I manage my author. I make sure that we're keeping to our goals. They say they want it to publish by a certain time. I make sure that I follow up with my authors. So those are my strong points. And then if an author is in need of a marketing strategy, then that's something that I can help with. But I do rely on my partners to help me with that. So
beautiful. Love that. Well, this has been great. I so appreciate you sharing the 3 mistakes that you're seeing a lot of first-time publishers make, and how to avoid those. And I really am appreciating that the publishing company, Tarafied Publishing, that you run is a company that can help with all three of those. So that is amazing. As we're kind of closing up here, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about who you work with your publishing company. Who should be reaching out to you?
Sure. So I do work with coaches who want to write a book, and I like the trauma to transformation books because that's kind of what my first book was. So I like the books that tell a story, how they had to overcome to become who they are today. I stick mostly with nonfiction. I was approached to do fiction, but I haven't had a chance to work on any fiction yet. I've done a children's book for a teacher. So I like to work with founders. Uh, I like the wellness space, but I have done a book with a bookkeeper before. She had an ebook that needed to be revamped. So I would say who I'd like to work with and who needs to reach out to me are business owners or coaches, consultants who have a book, an idea for a book, and they don't know where to start, or they have a draft they've been sitting on for years and they know they need to get it finished, and they don't know how to get it finished, and it's costing them more than what they think, because their books could be in the hands of people already, but by it sitting in your draft or in your mind, then it's not going anywhere. And then there might be someone else with your same idea who comes out with your book idea before you get a chance to do it, because you're sitting on it with your hands tied. So and that's why waiting on writing your book costs more than what you think, because while you're not taking action, someone else is, and your book could be in someone's hands 3 to 6 months from now, but you're not taking any action on it. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's important to know that time passes either way. You know,
mm-hmm,
so a lot of times people are like, oh, it's not the right time. It's not that I'm not sure. Maybe, girl, that's going to pass. The time passes.
mm-hmm,
You're either going to be a year older with a book or a year older without a book.
mm-hmm,
So it's just, how badly do you want to write that? How badly do you want to share your story? How badly do you want to educate and give value to people around the world? So many individuals have gone through real hardship. They've
mm-hmm,
gone through real awakenings, and they have a story to tell. They have inspiration to share, motivation to share through their story, and they're sitting in fear.
mm-hmm.
They're sitting in the pause and not taking action. So I love that. For those of you, or for those listening live or on the replay, Tara, where can people find you? There's a lot of people listening on the audio. So, what's your website, and where can people find you on social?
Okay, so they can find me on my website. Is tarafiedpublishing.com. Do you need me to spell it, Sabrina?
It would, yeah,
Okay, so spell it.
yeah.
Okay, so it's Tarafied, so it's TARAFIED, publishing, PUBLISHING.com. So that's my website. And then you can find me on social. I'm on LinkedIn. So I know there's a lot of Tara Hayeses, but if you type in Tara, my middle name is Martina, Tara Martina Hayes. And then if you look for my tagline is a terrified storyteller. So you'll find me that way.
It's beautiful. For those of you that are really resonating with Tara and the value that she brings to authors worldwide, feel free to check her out. As she said, tarafiedpublishing.com. It is in a clickable link in the description below, wherever you are listening to us at. And then LinkedIn is where she's predominantly showcasing on social media. Any closing thoughts, Tara, as we wrap things up?
So, closing thoughts is, if you're out there and you want to write a book, you don't know where to start, then just start today. It doesn't have to be perfect. Start messy. And also, when you're editing, too much editing will disrupt your creativity. So I would say, get your book, just start your draft, and don't worry about it not being perfect. And someone out there needs to hear your story the same way I wrote my story. There's someone out there who will be able to resonate with it. And don't worry about not having a big audience right now. There's a person, someone, as long as you can inspire one person, then you're doing what you're meant to do. So one person becomes 10, 10 becomes 100. So just take your time and just start and do it today. Don't wait.
Absolutely. Love that. Thank you so much, Tara, for being here, sharing your wisdom, inspiring us all. To our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying with us into the very end here. Remember to follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation Global, where we continue to uplift each other every step of the way by having conversations just like this one. Until next time, as I always